so that we can proceed. Welcome everybody to the Colored Only Cafe. As you know, the doors are now open. It's the middle of the week here, and it's been incredible in terms of weather. It was almost 60 degrees today here in New York City, and that's a very welcome condition after just about a week and a half ago. It was snowstorms really across the whole East Coast, so everybody's pretty much doing better with the weather. Let me welcome everybody in the room. We have over a dozen folks already in the VIP room. We call this the VIP room, meaning the very impressive, intelligent, intellectual, ingenious. A lot of ingenuity here. I just want to thank you all for being here in this room so early. I want to say what's up to Bro Pete, who always brings the heat. We got Lydia Percy in the house. We got my good brother, Dr. Ron Christopher Osborne Williams here, my co-host, JT Jamel, Sexy Kitty Cat, Sonny B. Sutherland Sr. is in the house. We got Super Black Man here in the house, as well as Amanda and Jacqueline Banner. We have the GoPro Radio supporter in the house. Thank you very much for supporting. And also the manager is here, making sure everything is managed okay. Let me make sure everybody have the host permissions. Let me make, okay, Ron, of course, the co-host. Jacqueline, all right, so who else the co-host? Okay, let me do all of that. Technical things that's going on here, just confirming. So that you can let people in as they come in, because you're invited, folks. People who are checking us out right now, who are checking us out on Rumble, people checking us on Facebook. If you'd like to join in today's conversation, you are more than welcome to do so. We're going to have a very interesting and powerful conversation today that I think everybody would like to, chime in on. I have some interesting questions and also for our panelists. Today I want to have a conversation. I just got word that a good friend of mine, you know, he was literally like a brother. When I say like a brother, when I first left home and told my father I was a man, and I was 16 years old, and I wanted to do things on my own, and I left home and didn't look back. I stayed a little while. When you leave, you with this brother and his family, and Jamaican brother. His name was they called him Jimmy, but his real name was Michael Thomas. And recently, like in the last month or so, I think I might have even mentioned, if you look back at some of the shows, I might have mentioned him, how we did this. Do you remember the story about how this guy hired us to do an illegal eviction? We didn't know it at the time. He told us to move the furniture out, so we was going to do this work because I used to do, construction work and odds. And then Jimmy had the van, and how they chased us, and how we, knocked down this door. How we just looked at each other because we were in sync. And that story prompted me to say I wanted to reach out to him. So I've been, we have some mutual friends on Facebook, and that's what you usually do, right? You reach out to some of your friends that know a friend from it. And then one of the friends got back to me and said, guess what? Just yesterday, he passed away. That was crazy to me, right? And it was so, like I said, heavy in my mind, or people say heavy in your heart, heavy, like you're thinking about a person, I'd like to think.
Oh no, you're not serious, Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy passed.
Jamaican Jimmy.
Jamaican Jimmy. Yeah,
Oh no, sorry to hear that.
yeah,
Condolences to his family.
absolutely, absolutely. And everybody who knew him and people who know, he was really a great guy. He was very innovative. I got to say, he was incredibly industrious. Like, we would not sit around waiting for money and opportunity. We would go outside, and maybe Jimmy, he would have a van, and he loved music. He loved the sound system and all that. So really, like, you know, uh, to the family, and of course our mutual friends. My heart is somewhat broken, because I say somewhat because I've always held them in high regard. I would always talk about, as I did. If you can go back and look at the shows, I always talked about them very favorably, and stuff like that. And I was talking to another friend of ours that was like a mutual friend, and he didn't have too many good things to say, and it just wanted me, because I'm also, by the way, folks, I'm writing a book. I'm not going to give out the title. I'm actually uh, almost finished. I've been pecking away at it, pecking it away at it, and it kind of touches on what I would like to talk about a little bit today, and something that I call the broken brotherhood. Why black men seem not to be united, or even in many cases desire to be united. Like where all that comes from. I mean, you see it on the internet, right? A lot today. Um, just black men going at it. You see it not only on the internet, you see it in the television, the news. You see the what is this? I don't know what's the guy. I can't even. Oh, 50 Cent, right? 50 Cent. He's at it with Ti, and he had it in for P Diddy and all. That's on the celebrity front, right? And we know that that's clickbait, right? For the most part. But even in our own circles, you'll see people like the little backbiting, the murmuring behind people's back, and the lack of support sometimes. When we're doing things, I could see like certain things come up and people won't share, the content or the information, and sending little subliminal things, or talking down or talking bad, about another brother. Um, and so I really, like I said, I want to really delve deep into this, right? Because I think it's connected to a lot of self hatred and a lot of information that I know that this would be an excellent group to have this conversation. So today's, we don't have a guest for today, so I think this topic is extremely important. I'm gonna call this topic today the broken brotherhood. Why black men seem not to be united or desire to be. Okay, so that's the topic, folks. If you folks who are listening to us on Facebook and you want to chime in on this very very important conversation, you are welcome to do so. And we made it incredibly easy. We made it safe. We made it fast. We made it efficient. We know that people don't like to click around and look for stuff. You don't have to put in any numbers when you go to Zoom. All you have to do is go to GoProRadio.com. GoProRadio.com is the destination. Once you go to GoPro Radio, right at the top of the page, it has a button that says "Join Live," and you just click that, and you'll be in the room. Right now, this is initially, or the main platform or the nexus of this information is on something called Zoom. So you have to have Zoom, and a lot of people have it, and if you don't, it's a free download that you don't have to spend any money. But I think you're going to want to engage in this conversation that we're going to talk about. And I got some good brothers here in the room to offer some insights and stuff like that. But my heart is, like I said, kind of broken. But when you have relationships with people and you really care about people, they never leave you. Jimmy will always be in my heart. He'll always be a very important part of even who I am. You learn from your friends, you learn from your family, your brothers, people around you, and I think the reason why we were so connected is because we're both Taurus. By the way, he was a Taurus, I was a Taurus. For whatever that might mean for some people. But we also was connected in this idea of being independent. Jimmy never had a job in his life. He always made a job. He had a van. We would have a sound system. We would DJ. Matter of fact, where he used to have a club on New Lights Avenue where I used to live for a little while. But that was how he lived. He lived, what would you say, on the fringes of society. He was so great at that and so good at that, and I kind of learned a lot from that. But anyway, folks, if you're just tuning in, this is the Color Only Cafe, and today we're talking about the broken brotherhood, and I want to welcome everybody into the Color Only Cafe. And today we sit at a table that is it's a little familiar, and it's going to get a little bit uncomfortable, but we're going to have an honest conversation, and I think this is going to be a really outstanding podcast that we could use also. I think that I'm going to use for some material for the book that I'm writing. But because tonight we ask a question, I think that in a sense it echoes throughout, the places we go, like barbershops, I'm sure in prison yards and basketball courts, office buildings, schools, churches, and through the silent places where I think black men often sit alone with their thoughts. You know I ponder a lot on this question. The question is simple, but the answer is not. And it's what happened to our brotherhood. And some people even debate and say, was there ever a brotherhood? I've had conversations with people, and they would talk about how the different tribes in Africa still fight today, and squabble and things like that. And I think that there was a time, at least in my memory, or I would say even in our collective memory, when the idea of black men standing together just felt natural, right? And it's not perfect. I think in any family or any organization, any group, you have a difference of ideas. Matter of fact, this is a perfect platform for us to talk about it because we devised this. And when I say we, me and Dr. Ron, we came up with this concept and idea of saying, you know what, instead of everybody agreeing and being in the same room, let's get people who have, different backgrounds, various backgrounds, come into a space in a room and have conversations and without this idea that we have to leave in agreement or we have to leave disagreeing. It's about having these ideas kind of vetted out and hopefully the best ideas surfacing to the top. But this idea of black unity and black men standing together, um, um, like I said, it's not pretty, it's not pink, it's not perfect, but it's ever present. And I think when we think about black men and men who stood together shoulder to shoulder in many places today, like churches and union halls, and you have fraternities, and you have I know what's that group? They're always wearing purple. Uh, like the Hebrew Israelites. You see them marching together in the street. The Nation of Islam. They built businesses and churches and things together. When you think of black men and you think just about black men in unity, these certain things, images pop in my head, and I see that, in today's world of black people black men coming together and working together, and you talk about how black men come together and build businesses together. We built the Colored Only Cafe together. Me and Ron, two black men coming together and having a conversation and saying, okay, let's do this. GoPro radios, Sonny, I myself, Lydia, and all the folks who kind of join in early, make up the fabric of it, right? And I think although we argue and sometimes we fight and we disagree, but at the end of the day, I think we understand something that is sacred, and that the survival of one black man is tied to another. I want to say that again, right? Because for people all the way in the back, or people who might not really get that part, that the survival of one black man, the survival of me, for example, I'm going to use me, put me in the center of this at the moment. It's just for clarity. It's tied to the survival of Dr. Ron, Sonny, and all the other people who participate. No man is an island. But I think sometime and somewhere along the road, something fractured. So today, we often see something different. We see suspicion, I think where trust once lived. We see competition where cooperation, should exist. We see a lot of isolation where, brotherhood should be there, in its place of feeling, isolated. And I think too often, and you can just look at, the suicide rates. You can look at, the prisons. You can look at all the spaces where there is despair. Too often, we meet each other first as rivals. You know, um, and I think before we even meet each other as brothers, we have this mindset, and we're gonna explore this today, folks. And I'm just laying down the groundwork so that we can have a robust conversation about this on what happens when we just see another black man that we don't know. You know, it could be in a barbershop. Where I want to use that also as a like, when you're sitting. Now I'm bald headed, right? Everybody knows I'm bald, but I'm going to get a beer. But when I would go to the barbershop, it's just sizing up of each other, and I think that's kind of like a natural thing. I think when we go in a room, we want to see, okay, what is a threat, right? So we have this idea of sizing up each other, right? And then we measure each other's status. I want to talk about that, and and sometimes we question each other's uh, realness, authenticity. I've heard it on the program. Yeah, I'm a real black man, and what's real, and how we challenge each other in that space, and sometimes, and this is me. I do this a lot. And I'm guilty. I like to sometimes keep my distance, and because I keep my distance, I kind of get to see people how they sometimes are. Because for a lot of times, when I meet other black men, it's like, okay, and I think in very simple terms all the time. Like, what does a person want? You know, and I always like to feel as though I am useful to a person. I'm one of these people that I don't mind using. If you, I want to be used. Don't misuse me. Don't abuse me. But definitely, I like to feel like I have utility in a person's life, even if it's having this show and people have a platform and giving people a voice, that they find some usefulness, as opposed to people just sitting around kicking the willy bobos and not really achieving certain aims and goals and creating opportunities. So I like this idea of being utilized, but not being taken advantage of. And sometimes what I do is I keep distance, because distance, when you have distance, you can see things, I think, in a little bit of a time. But when there's distance, sometimes there's time. Sometimes when there's distance, certain things will be revealed, right? Um, um, and some people say, and I'm gonna have some questions. We're gonna go around the room, that the brokenness of the brotherhood is engineered, right? Right. We've had conversations about that, where um, uh, there was the manumission, right, where people who sold out other black men, they would get rewarded. This is history now a little bit, right? If you sold out a black revolt, or you sold out a black man who's thinking about fleeing with his family, right, to the north, right, looking at that, and then somebody would say, "Yo, boss, Tylon thinking about leaving the plantation," and so on, so on, so, and then the slave master reward. This is a fact, and it's in Claude Anderson's book, Black. Um, I think it's called Black Wealth, White Private, but about this manumission where the slave. I wish Deshaun was on. He probably help me out with this part. Would uh, give another person their freedom if he was going to tell about the revolt or uprising that would happen. Um, so a lot of this stuff that we see today is really rooted in also our legacy and our condition here, because that's something I really want to explore if we can today in this conversation. But because slavery casts a very long shadow that still affects us today. And then there's also the systemic removal of black fathers, right? So that's a conversation that's connected to the broken brotherhood, right? The economic marginalization of black men, because that's something also, that's a whole chapter. I actually devote a chapter in a book that I'm writing, about the uniqueness of black men, um, on how it's done economically. Like, even black men look at other black men in terms of their value and their worth, how much money they have in their bank account, which is just, it's so problematic. And hopefully, like I said, we'll touch on it today. We talk about the prison system and how it really just literally swallows entire generations. I've done a couple of films in and around that. One is Disappearing Freedom, The Decline of Justice. and then it's another one I did, which is a portion of that film in a film called Three Times Freedom that you can see right now on the Restitution Study Group's website. And that whole film just talks about the wrongful conviction crisis, because everybody knows that there's a disproportionate amount of black men that are incarcerated, but in that portion you'll find that literally they go throughout our communities, various communities, and really pluck black men out, charge them with crimes that they didn't commit. Not only didn't commit, in some cases, I don't know if you guys heard about this, Carmen Mejia, just recently released for a crime that didn't even occur. Spent 20 years in prison for a crime that didn't even happen. So, there are a lot of outrageous cases, and we see these things happening, but we don't connect it to the fracturing of the brotherhood. And I think that if we have a stronger brotherhood, I think, and are more united, of course, it sounds like a cliche, but it's true. We're stronger together. But yeah, part of it is ego, and I think we all have it, right? We all have our pride, right? Part of it is fear, but I think in this quiet space that I was talking about, the quiet loneliness that many black men carry, but we really speak about, is rooted in all of these different uh, categories that I mentioned. Because the truth is, many black men, myself included, I'm not separating myself from it, are walking through this world without a circle of brothers that they can truly trust with their pain. And when men are alone, and men feel alone, or they feel alone long enough, they begin this thing that happened in your brain that you begin to get into survival mode instead of connection mode. So anyway, so tonight, we're gonna have this conversation. I have a lot of questions that hopefully will get answered. Once again, folks, you are invited to the conversation if you want to. As a matter of fact, I would encourage people. This is not just a conversation, although we're talking about men. This is a family conversation. A lot of times, yes, black men, we need our spaces where we can talk. Women have their spaces where they can talk. But I feel like, we are the number one target, in this country, because the men are the protectors of the women. They are the protectors of the children. They are the protectors of the elderly, the grandparents, the grandmas, and the aunties. Not only protection physically, but we the economic engine and machine for this company. So this is the reason why I think you should invite your sisters and your your aunties, your nieces to this conversation, and perhaps I think the most uncomfortable question, and this is what I'm going to put out to the room: do black men still want brotherhood with one another, or have we learned to live without it? That's going to
We don't know what it is because we were deprived of it for so long. So now you want us to try to connect with something that is not even, it may be in us very deeply, but it's not in our mind. It's not circulating through our neurons in our head.
mm, 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 yeah, yeah. Yeah, I hear you. And by the way, tonight I'm gonna let everybody know that there is no right, wrong answers. I wanted to have an authentic conversation from where people are. People are at different spaces. Tonight is not about trying to point out one person or whatever. But tonight, and it's not about blame. To me, today, this conversation, I hope, will land in a place of honesty, and brutal truth. And I think because if something sacred can be lost, or something sacred has been lost, right? Let's say, like, we don't know what it is, like Sonny said, right? I think we have to find the courage to have to name it, right? And only then can we really heal, right? If people walk around like, nah, we're this, we're that, and we're we're super connected, and we pretend that there's a reality that's not our reality. That is equally as problematic, if not more problematic, than anything. I think when you pretend that there's not a problem, and there is a problem, that is, to me, that's the worst part of it. When people, I don't know what I'm talking about, or we point out when we are connected, right? Like, yeah, well, we do this on the GoPro radio, we do, and that's good. And there are connected. There are organizations that's good. There's churches that organize. Like I mentioned the Nation of Islam, the Hebrew Israelites, and they're connected around religion and you know, you know, you know, family and all this other. You have the fraternities, right, right, and so they're organized. So yeah, men are organized. I'm saying, in general, this idea of people that you don't know, who don't may not belong to your organization, may not belong to your church, your mosque, your fraternity. That's a black man. I see, even in courthouses, a black man in judgment of another black man, and almost seems like in some cases, right? And I think we could talk about that today. Is even harder than a white judge, because they don't want to seem or appear to their peers who are white that they are lenient on other black men, so they would throw the proverbial book at them, right? So let me start out too with this question. And remember, people, there are no wrong answers. There's just a perspective, right? What does brotherhood among black men mean to you personally?
A connection of emotion, of thought, a connection of that's my brother. I ain't gonna let nobody mess with my brother.
Mm, mm-hmm. Cool, cool. Let's see who. Matter of fact, let me call on some people, because the room is kind of quiet. I know I've been talking to a lot of people. Oh no, matter of fact, just think about that. I got it. We have to take a little quick commercial break. And guys, if you want to hear less commercials, please consider, donating. We also make that easy to do too. Go to GoPro Radio. We have barcodes for PayPal now, as well as Cash App. You could do a Cash App right now. That would be really, really great, so that we can run fewer and fewer commercials, and we can keep the flow going in conversations, especially conversations that are important like this when we're talking about brotherhood. But anyway, nonetheless, we'll be right back, folks. This is the Color Only Cafe, where the conversation is always hot, black, and strong.
Welcome to the Colored Only Cafe, where the conversation is always hot, black, and strong.
Right, all right. Welcome.
It's the Covered Only Cafe.
Yes. It's a Colored Only Cafe, and folks, we're talking about the broken brotherhood today. We're talking about you know black people, black men, how we connect.
Turn up your volume. Your voice is too low.
I don't know. You know what? In my
Turn it
headphones.
up, 'cause I can barely hear you.
Gee, you know what? Hold on. Let me do one more thing here. I'm going to turn up my gain. I hate doing it because sometimes there's feedback, but all right. How about this?
A little bit better.
A little bit. Wow. I don't know. Maybe it's Okay. So, and now maybe I'll turn down my headphones, and this way it won't sound so loud in my headphones. All right. What about now, guys? Can you hear me better?
Just a wee bit.
Wow.
Because you
You
usually
should.
you come in strong.
But you
It's
should.
like you're
You
whispering. It's
should.
like you're whispering.
You,
Yeah,
you,
so maybe might I don't know because you crystal cloud. I hear you loud and clear. Um,
yeah, I think you and Brother P got to turn up your hearing aids.
No,
'Cause
I ain't turning up the hearing aid. 'Cause you need to stop whispering.
I'm. Oh man, it's like guys. First of all, on the board, it's peaking. It's like in the red. So I might be distorting to some people. I don't know, guys. Give
Yeah,
me the
it is.
thumbs up.
It is. It is. What I'm hearing is hearing almost getting to an echo because you're almost too loud.
Yeah,
So
that's
I don't know.
yeah. And I don't know. I don't know. Well, folks. The meter is saying that I'm in the red right now. Like so. Uh, it is what it is. Maybe they're doing something on the other side. We don't know what these folks are, but I don't want to distort because I don't want to make it not only unpleasant. I don't want to even in post production it becomes unusable because this is a audio experience. Oh, I see. Yeah, I do. Yeah, yeah. See, so
You hear yourself?
yeah, yeah.
That's how loud you are.
Wow, I'm real loud. All right, but let's get back to the topic. Sorry if people can't hear me. I'm not as loud. Sometimes I do turn around and I get off mic because I'm looking at the screens. I'll try to be more mindful and talk directly into the microphone if that could be helpful. But folks, we're talking about the broken brotherhood, and I think it's an important conversation that the whole family is involved in. I said that a little early. I want to reiterate that. So this is a great opportunity for you to invite some of your family and friends to talk about the brotherhood and how we can connect. And before we went to the break, I put out a question that I'm going to ask again, and this question is: what does brotherhood among black men mean to you personally? Now, the reason why I phrased it in that way, right? It's very important that you check out how I phrase this because this is a question you can ask women. We can ask children because what does brotherhood among black men mean to you personally? It's a personal question. And I know for some people they say they've never been asked that. When I ask it, it's a very very important question because they don't. It doesn't occur to them to think about black men as and a brotherhood. So I think Sonny, you were going to say something, or or brother Pete. I think I don't want to uh, you know go out of
I
order.
kind of mentioned it earlier, is that we were never trained to explore that part of our sensitivity with our brothers. We were always put against one another, and we kind of grew up, and our ancestors, most of them, not all of them, grew up that way.
Well, I mean, I totally disagree. I'll totally. I have a different experience of that, especially being involved with multiple organizations, where brotherhood is the center of it. I think that one of the key things is in choosing people in brotherhood is that you choose them. It's like your family. Your family may be your family, but a lot of times people are sitting around the people that they choose to be family with. Sometimes, and I think this is Sonny has a good point there in reference to as black people, we sometimes got to remember that this idea of making us monolithic is an important factor that is done here in this uh, you know supremacy, inferiority complex. Um, because if I can put you all in the same category and not let you really have an opportunity to build with your own tribe through your own empowerment, through your own belief, then you will be against each other because you don't grow up with someone supporting you, giving you the support. Like there are many families, many people who have been very, and I see this very much in fathers, because the fathers are the ones who do it. They instill what it means for their son to be their brother, and they instill that idea of how you look for men
Mm.
to have brotherhood with. So it is a transgenerational thing that is passed down. There's many of us who don't have any part of it, um, because I think a lot of times because we follow a lot of the European centric mindset of brotherhood. And when you follow that type of brotherhood, it's not about unity; it's about who is better. So when I hear people say black people act like crabs in a barrel, these kind of things, you have to understand who created that and where that comes from. It doesn't come from us. It comes from them.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then we emulate it because we want to be something that we're not. Instead of being who we are as a people, we want to be more like them as a people because somehow we see the ice being colder when the reality is the same water that we can go get from the lake and put in our own freezer.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I think that's a big part of. So I believe that there's a lot, but the brotherhood of man is what they tell us. But we shouldn't operate from the brotherhood of man because that means all men. We have to operate from the brotherhood of our tribe, of who we are, and then we can build together into the idea of Pan Africanism, the way it operates. You
Well,
know,
let's explore that. I would like to explore that, like who we are, you know, because I think that the fact that there is, all the, different religious groups. I mentioned fraternities. I know you're part of a fraternity. We talk about what they call street tribes, where people, black men, for the most part, are trying to find a family and connect and build and bond through a brotherhood. But if we can pull out right a little bit and say that even if a person doesn't belong to, let's say, the Colored Only Cafe or my tribe, my group, the GoPro Radio Network, or organization, fraternity, church, or my, do we look at them as brothers still? Like, when you go into a barber shop, like I gave that scenario, and you don't know if this person is a member of your church or member of your group, a Hebrew Israelite, a Muslim, or Sunni, or whatever. That is still your brother. Because I guess what I'm implying with this, Ron, and let's have a conversation about this, is sometimes these groups of brotherhood actually work against brotherhood.
But because that's how they're organized.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you, let
Mm-hmm.
me say this to you.
Mm-hmm.
I am steadfast that I don't care who and what you are. If you're a black man, you're a brother to me. And I come at you
Yeah.
in that approach first,
Right.
right? I
Right.
don't come at you as you're this or you're that, you're involved with. I come at you as being a black man who have an idea, like this whole thing of what it means to be black.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean to be black? It's clear. I know when I come to you and I can look you in the face and say, "What's up, brother?" And you can
Mm-hmm.
say back to me, "Hey, what's up, brother? What's up, man? How you feeling?" And good, and we can have a conversation, no matter what our religion, our stance, station, class, whatever it is. We identify that we come on one common ground of blackness. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I also are able to do that because I know who I am in my blackness and who the tribe I come from. Right? When you
Mm-hmm.
don't know who you are, that's why you see so many people go so hard for things that they get involved with because they're trying to build something about them with something. So when you see people, listen, I use a great case and scenario.
Mm-hmm.
People who join fraternities and sororities who
Mm-hmm.
renounce
Mm-hmm.
and denounce, right?
No, what do you mean by
They,
that? I'm not clear. What you say? Renounce it.
so they join the fraternities and sororities. This was a big thing that was very
Mm-hmm.
big on social media the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Joined because the lady did a podcast
Mm-hmm.
talking about one of the sororities and that basically the sororities are ungodly. The
Oh
sororities
wow.
are ungodly. They are kind of devil worshiping. They put other idols in front of God, and
Mm-hmm.
that you need to denounce and you need to denounce from it. You need to
Mm-hmm.
renounce from these organizations because you're putting these things before you're putting God, but
Mm-hmm.
before you're putting Jesus Christ, the blood,
That's
whatever.
crazy. I mean, in that with that kind of logic, like Christianity is evil. Like you're putting Jesus before God. Jesus was a
And,
man.
I think a dream. This is exactly what I'm the point I'm getting exactly to the idea that you would believe that because it doesn't come from Jesus, right? This idea doesn't come from Jesus. It comes from the church that you belong to, who has infiltrated you, like what's
Mm-hmm.
my man over there in Guyana, like Jim Jones have to
Mm-hmm.
drink the Kool-Aid and tell you that everybody else is you are the righteous one, and you need to go out and save all of them because they have joined an organization that's going to send them straight to hell, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool, right? But
Mm-hmm.
how can you spend your time? You need to be able to spend your time worrying about your faith and your faith. You can't be worrying about somebody else's faith, right? If that's the time. But again, if you are centered in who you are as a person, you would never fall for any of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I when your life is in a place where you are at the highest level hierarchy of needs on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, when you are at self-actualization, none of that stuff even affects you because you know who you are as a person. Black people have to begin to work to get to that aspect of who they are as a person, not the things that people want you to be, not the social constructions that are established for us. Then to then put us in different places to then again go into the crabs in the barrel, as our friend Sonny was talking about, being against each other and fighting each other. But again, that's not that wasn't created by us. It was created by the people who practice it most. And then they, as I say about everything, and you will never, it will probably be put on my grave site. I am not your scapegoat for all the things you do. Stop using me and my people for your scapegoat for your problems, so you don't feel bad about yourself.
Yeah, thank you for that. Oh, I apologize. I'm supposed to be on camera. Yeah, somebody just got a little notation of me being on camera. Yeah, all right, I'm on camera now, folks. I apologize. It's a button. I'm doing a lot of things. But yeah, I mean, you bring up an interesting point, and folks, I'm asking a question. To the group about what does brotherhood mean and what does it mean to you. So, family, you can answer that. And I would like to, if Lydia's around or any other ladies want to chime on, what does brotherhood, right, Black brotherhood, mean to you? That's the question. Lydia, if you're there, because sometimes people are doing things when they're listening to the program, they're cleaning up or getting ready for bed. I know that the hour is kind of late, but I'd be very interested to see what the sisters, who we got here.
Yes, I'm here. Good
Hi.
evening.
Hey, good evening, Lydia. By the way, Lydia's program is tomorrow. Lydia's Lyrical Lounge, 10 o'clock on the GoPro Radio Network. I got to do the shameless plug. But yeah, I know you've been hearing the conversation
Yes.
and the question. What does Black Brotherhood mean to you, as a sister? You've been in the community, and I'm sure
Okay.
you have sons,
Definitely.
brothers, uncles. What does it mean to you?
Means strength. Like I was listening to Dr. Ron. It means strength in our community to have the brothers. I mean, it's a united strength. It's someone to keep us all bonded together. First of all, let me just break it down from my perspective, right? Because of the impact, the economic impacts, right? And because of the restraints that's hold on the Black community, period. But living in living in Brooklyn at a time when there was a lot of chaos, right? It's a lot of chaos now. But the brothers were the force in the community. And I'm talking about the Sunni Muslims, Imam Siraj and them. They were the force. You felt protected. You knew that things would be taken care of. Yes, you had your drug dealers, but drug dealers knew the limits to go and to stay away. Even they protected the community in a offset sort of way. But it's all about the restraints that's put on us as Blacks in this country, It's always been a factor. So I've watched my family members join Masons and they're all together. And yes, there is a certain amount of joy being united with people who are like-minded. You're interested in politics. It's community.
Mm-hmm.
You're interested in making your community better as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Brothers to me in the community means strength.
Mm-hmm.
It's a protection.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to ask you a question about, because when you started, listen very closely, and you're talking about, I believe Masjid Taqwa, which was on Bedford
Yeah,
Avenue.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you talk about the Sunni Muslims there that protected that Aryan community. And if I can expand out, I know even Ron mentioned the fraternity, and even I didn't even know that there was this woman from the church talking. I sometimes find, and I really want to get you guys' perspective on this, that the church, the mosque, the fraternities actually, in some ways, and I don't think this is intentional, but I think stand in the way in many instances of brotherhood, because people look at brothers only if they are part of the Shriners, only if they're part of the Masons. My brother
Masons.
in this, my brother in that. That sometimes that we other out brothers if they are not part of so and so's church or the mosque or this. Like the protection is limited to
Yeah,
and
but,
go ahead.
no, I know you feel like it's clouded, but from looking at them from my end, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't see that because I saw the brothers going out in the community, talking to the brothers who
Mm-hmm.
are in the community,
Mm-hmm.
who are perhaps on the low end, who are down in the quagmire of life,
Mm-hmm.
living every day, can't get up. I
Mm-hmm.
saw them trying to pull them up, trying to bring them up, not trying to hold anything against them. I
Mm-hmm.
saw them trying to elevate them and nurture their minds and bodies and souls with food and offering
Mm-hmm.
them a chance to uplift
Mm-hmm.
themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's what I saw.
yeah, and I'm not
And
saying that reminds me of the Nation of Islam. I mean, I'm not saying that there isn't these, recruitment, sort of, hey, let me give you knowledge of self, and so because I was part of the Ansar Allah Community Center, Dr. York, and I swear I took my
Mhm.
Salah, and I was a Sunni, and I was part of the, we all went through, and I remember. Ron being a part of all these different religious groups, looking for because I'm still a seeker. I will always be a seeker of
Me too.
information and knowledge. But but I remember when I was younger, in particular, as a young black man growing up in East New York, Brownsville, it was always a sense of being protected because now you're part of something larger, and I think that's what
Well,
happens also in
no, I
gangs.
want you to,
Mm-hmm.
I want you to
Mm-hmm.
listen what you just said.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
We have found ourselves as
Mm-hmm.
a people to always be looking for protection.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at other, look, why is it in the Black America
Mm-hmm.
that Black people are so entwined in these organizations? When you go into other diasporas of Blackness, they don't even care nothing about them. They don't even have them because they have their protection through their association of who they are.
Mm-hmm.
We have to go. We have had to fight to find our identities. Hopefully, finding them in Black things that speak to Blackness and speak to the type of brotherhood that I agree with Lydia about. Is that many of these organizations were all centered not just to be private groups, because that's the reason why they was established, because they already had the private groups of the white people who had these groups who wouldn't let us in. So when we decided that we would have those groups, they were for the building of us as a people. We have a guy here who's talking about building a Freeman Bureau here in
Mhm.
Philadelphia. Listen, that is to bring the regular people involved and do for the community and give them the strength of. And I can think about when I was in school as being a teenager and how grown men looked at me as being a member of an organization, and they looked up to me I was a young man in college, but
Mm-hmm.
they looked forward to me to be a leader in the community because of the things I was doing in the community.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't even my community. I was just there to go to college. But
Mm-hmm.
what we end up doing in that community became a big part. But I didn't do that on my own. That was some of the principles, the foundations of
Mm-hmm.
an organization who is still for us to do those things.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it is when we look at the organizations,
Mm-hmm.
the foundations of these organizations are set. What happens with everything is the people that you get in it and how they would like to manipulate it to the way they would like to manipulate it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's where the problem
because my point that I wanted to do, I wanted to look at it from that micro perspective of various organizations, but the fact that before people join organizations or part of these organizations, I remember when I was out there seeking information, knowledge, understanding, camaraderie, connectiveness, and protection. It was this idea of being a part of something larger than yourself. And I'm saying, is it us kind of looking at it backwards in the sense that we are already the fact that before, for example, before you joined a fraternity or let's say a religious group or whatever, you were a Black man. And being black, and this is what I kind of think was really unique about the Black Panther Party that I really like, and I'm just in awe of, is that you had an organization that connected with people. It didn't matter if what religion or what it was about, black liberation and freedom and struggle. You didn't necessarily have to be, like I remember when I took my salon. Like I said, I used to belong to what was called in Brooklyn, New York, the Anti-Law Community Center out there in Bushwick, and you would see the brothers, people wearing all white and all that, and Dr. But what it does is, I think, and I don't think this is the intent, and I absolutely valued all the organizations and groups wherever black people are connecting and how they connect. That it's a plus, it's a good thing. But what I'm saying is that it can also, I believe, be a detriment or in the way of us saying that he's a brother if he's part of this group or that group, other than, no, you're a brother because you're black.
But Tyler, this is what I just say. I'm saying this. The crust of these organizations was only established about blackness. There's not one organization that is for black people right now was not established because of blackness. Because if there was the case, they would just belong to the white organizations, but they couldn't. So the idea of this idea of not being affordable or being forthcoming to engage other black people as brothers would be ludicrous. Other than that, you are trying to. Other than you are trying to be like the social construction of the people that you have experienced. I was telling somebody earlier today that our kids, the way kids are operating, are not of their own doing; they're of their parents, and they only learn how to do things based on what their parents do. And sometimes it's not their parents that influence them what they do. Sometimes it's their peers. And sometimes it becomes the people who are the most influential who influence them or how and what they become. And they can turn away from their parents. They can turn away things to be involved with things that they feel that are influential. Many people have been who have been cognitive dissonance in the idea of believing that others have the better influence on what life is about.
Yeah, well, we're going to take a quick break again, folks. This is the Color Only Cat. We're having a really good, deep conversation. We're talking about brotherhood and what it means, and what are some of the things that are in the way of that. I have a very interesting question when we come back to ask our panelists here in the room. And by the way, once again, you can join by going to GoProRadio.com and hit that join live button. You're going to want to be a part of this conversation. We'll be right back.
You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
Welcome to the Colored Only Cafe, where the conversation is always hot, black, and strong.
Oh, wow. I mean, it's really getting good. I mean, Ron and Idiot. So you guys really giving me a lot to think about here, when I'm thinking about this book. When does here's a question that I want to send out to the panelists. When does a brother stop being a brother to you? Because I had this. The reason why I'm saying this, Ron, is because I had a conversation with somebody, like I want to say, because we both mutually know this person, but they were like, I don't like this brother, because he gets on and he talks about the Republican. Da, 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 da. I said, yeah, but what about the other voices? He used to be on the pro. He used to come on and he doesn't come on it because he has a difference of opinion of other people, and it goes. But that he and the brother, these brothers are things like when. So I want to ask. This is an interesting question, and I'd be interested in getting people's feedback on when does a brother stop being a brother?
Never. Listen,
When they start
in my true approach, a brother or a sister never stops being a brother or sister. Now, what happens is you may find yourself that you need to take a break from them, but when it comes down to, and this is what we don't practice enough in our society, because we have took on too many European centric ways of operating.
Say that again.
When you go and check, when you go and check, there is an understanding and acceptance of people having the right and the privilege to do what they want to do and not be judged by, are we pushing them away for who and what they are because they are us?
Mm. Mm.
But that's not how it operates in European centric idealization.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be the way we want. You have to think the way we want. And if not, you are not a part of us and we will kill you off. That's the fact. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
If you need evidence, you can look right, go cut your news station on and see right at this moment what they're doing to Iran.
That's right.
It's
They
a
want.
perfect example. And then blaming Iran for saying they was going to attack them.
Mm-hmm.
You can't make this
That's
stuff up,
literacy.
right? Yeah, it's a very interesting, perspective, because I think too there is also a swiftness to dismiss, people who have alternative lifestyles, people who don't share you have black people who are, they identify as being Democrat, identify as being Republican. I don't identify with it, but they're still your brothers.
That's
You know
the
what I'm saying?
problem.
Mm-hmm.
All that shit ain't ours,
Right.
so it don't matter.
Right.
I
agree. I agree.
This is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
If it ain't something that was created by us, it's not ours.
Right.
So why you so gung ho? Listen, I can tell you, Deshaun not here today. That's cool. But if Deshaun was here, we not in the same fraternity, but we believe the same things based on our fraternities.
Mm.
You understand that? It doesn't matter because we know what the root of our fraternities came from the same place. Howard University.
Mm-hmm.
They came from the same place. So the purpose of them is different names and different symbols, but the core of it is about us having our independent idealization of who we are as black people.
Mm.
That's what it's really about, not about anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So when people say, "Oh, this is against this," I laugh at you because if you concerned about that, you crazy because we got more things against us than that. Is that what you're concerned about? And then don't let me go deep into it. That you're going to tell me that something was created by us for us about us.
Mm-hmm.
Is we need to get rid of that, stop being involved with that, to go to something that was created to enslave us, to imprison us, and corrupt our mind about who we are.
Mm.
Come on, bruh. Come on. Get out of here with that, man. Because when you show me that, show me your Jesus then. Show me what he looked like.
Right.
Show me your Jesus, what he looked like.
Mm-hmm.
Then talk to me. Because 98% of the time, when they saying that, the Jesus is somebody who don't look like them.
Mm.
Because when you call them, Tyler, I swear to God, I call them on it every time. When they start talking any shit to me, please show me the picture of the Jesus in y'all church.
Mm-hmm.
Show me the picture of the Jesus in your church. The same one that the Russians still, the same Jesus and the saints and all that the Russians still got in their church.
Mm.
The Russians still got the pictures of in their churches. Because you couldn't go in Russia and whitewash what they put on the walls. Because Russia would not let you in. So I'm just saying, so don't tell me nothing. Don't try to tell me nothing. When you try to come with your guy who looking like Woody Harrison,
Brad Pitt.
yeah, Brad Pitt coming up here telling me I need to be getting rid of all the black demon devil stuff that I'm involved with so I can be more in tune with him. Brother, I'm not buying that.
Right.
And again, I'm not saying that if that's what you believe, you got a problem. I'm still your brother for that. Even when you're still doing that, I'm still your brother because it's the only way I'm gonna be able to have any connection and love for you.
And I think that's my point, Ron, that I was bringing up all the organizations and institutions that a lot of us didn't create and we don't really understand the origins, I think, of a lot of different organizations and groups and where they come from. And that, when we identify, and this is the thing that I think, when we identify first with your church, the sorority, fraternity, all these different groups, before, I think blackness needs to be first. And that's what I was bringing up about the Black Panther Party. That was important. They didn't care about what religion.
Tylon, they do. See, you're saying because if you just say they're the Panthers, right?
Right.
They're not the Panthers. They're the Black Panthers.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. That's a part of the idealization that you're talking about.
Right.
They're the Black Panthers. Right.
Yes.
The Black church, the Black fraternities, the Black sororities, the Black social organizations. They are all titled the same way. Black.
Yeah, but when you lump,
Now,
okay.
now
No, go ahead.
you
Finish your
can't
point.
get it. You can't get around it. You can't say, "Oh, they not black," because the only reason they established is for blackness.
That's right.
No, but what I'm saying is that when they were established, but the priority that I've seen, and I know you bear witness to this, and a lot of other people bear witness to this, is to the organization as opposed to black. Like, although it's a black, let's say, fraternity or a black this, it doesn't put forth the black
doesn't make sense. What you say doesn't make sense because it was only established for blackness.
No, to have something established.
The organization, listen. The organizations, those organizations, if they weren't established for blackness, they could just be in the regular organizations that were there, the white organizations. What the key thing that makes them for us is that they are for black.
But what I'm saying,
you want to know what really makes them for us? White people don't come to them.
Right. Well, that was my point. My point is to say that we're black because it's sort of like saying, well, the NAACP, we were made for Negroes. The black
people, it wasn't made. See, that's not true.
No, but I'm just saying when people say certain things as groups, and that's what they want to be a part of.
No, because now you're trying to inflate two things that's not the same. The NAACP is exactly what it's called. The NAACP. Nothing about blackness is in there. Right. Actually, they have a name, a racist name in the title because the people who established it was for the stereotypical way that they wanted Negroes to be.
All right. So but this is my point. I want you to throw the baby out with the bathwater. My point is this, right? That although it was called Negroes, we've been called African American, now Foundational Black American. People use the title to identify a certain cluster or group of people and saying that this organization is going to represent or supposed to represent your ideas, your aims and goals. And what I'm saying is that much too often, this is my point, that people identify first and foremost with that religion, with that Democratic Party, with the black. It was a black congressional caucus. It's black, but they don't do stuff for black folks. So what I'm saying is that black has been used as a way to delineate, other groups being a part of it, and we identify being black. But however, when you look closely, that they put first and foremost the people who are part of their congregation, part of their organization, part of their group, as opposed to putting, really, since it starts out being black, to say that this person is my brother, but regardless if he's part of the end up the various groups, right, that we were talking about, that they put their blackness first, that this is your brother because it's simply because he's black, not because he's a card-carrying member of a group.
You are not, if you don't believe your blackness comes first, you're not going to be a part of these groups.
No. I'm saying all people who are part of groups, and they put the group. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? The group,
I'm saying in this day and age, a large majority of the people who are in these black groups are in it to empower their blackness. So what you're trying to say is these groups are the groups. But today, if you don't have to be present day today, they don't have to be in any of these groups. They don't have to be in anything. They can just integrate.
That's my point.
They can integrate and assimilate and be and have integration, no more segregation. They can have those things. But people who are going to still be involved with black things because they want to be they want the center of what they're involved with to affect and be about blackness.
Yeah, but you don't need to be a part of the group. That's my point. And you said you don't have to be a part of any group. You don't have to be a part of any religion to identify and understand that it is your blackness that is the power.
Oh, I'm not saying that you got to have. Listen, I had blackness before I joined the Nation of Islam. I had blackness before I joined Omega Psi Phi. I had blackness before I went to college. I already understood blackness because the blackness was taught to me again from my ancestors, from my parents. So the problem is that a large majority of people are not getting taught that from the correct places. So then when they get into organizations, listen, you know how many black top tier students today don't learn anything about blackness until they maybe go to a college?
Yeah, right. Dig it.
So let's keep it real. They don't learn
Mhm.
anything about blackness until they get to maybe a college. And that's if they go to a college that has and they identify with the
And that's by
blackness
design. Yep.
and be involved with blackness.
hmm
And then they be like, wow, did you know there was a lady called Sojourner Truth? I never even learned that. I never knew
Mhm.
Harriet Tubman. I never you looking at these people like,
Yep,
what are you
you're
talking
right.
about?
Mm-hmm.
These people, what are you talking about?
hmm
You don't know, you don't know who Marcus Garvey is?
Mm.
They don't even know
That's
people
true.
of their own times, like Tookie Williams.
Yep,
On Am-
that's right.
they had no clue as to, and these are
Mm-hmm.
people, these are their peers. They have no clue as to what their peers are like. But somebody said somebody just put something in my ear that's profound. That said, if you want to know the difference between black awareness, black brotherhood, black sisterhood, as opposed to white brotherhood, white sisterhood, stand in the middle of Times Square 12 noon and smack a white boy. You'll see the difference in the unity.
I can't listen. I would love to argue that, Brother Pete, but it's facts. I would love to argue, but it's a fact. Listen, if you do something to a white person, every fucking white person, if they know him or not know him, listen, you got niggas that's gonna come up there and be like, hey, what you doing? Don't do that to Massa.
hmm
Don't do that. Don't do that to Fred. Stop it.
White people don't care whether they Catholic, Baptist,
hmm
Buddhist, Satanism. They could be
hmm
Satan.
hmm
They could be whatever. You
Right.
just smacked another white person.
Right. Right. And in that same regard, that's what I was saying, because like people who know I've been a part of a lot of different groups, organizations, 5% Nation, Nation of Islam, all the groups like I talked about when I took myself Ansar Allah, which was not a popular group out in Brooklyn and things like that, all these collective organizations. And one of the biggest challenges, I've been invited out of them too, because I ask these kinds of questions and I push back because I think a lot of us, the first thing we sometimes do as a default is identify with the group as opposed to, no, I'm black and I'm black first. And even when we're part of it, they prioritize and put over the group that they may belong to and negate and not look at other people's blackness or their brothers or their sisters' blackness because she's not a sister in Christ or she's not a sister or brother in this group or this organization. That was my point.
I fully
But
agree.
brother,
And I agree with you 100% on that.
yes,
And
yeah.
that's why if you are in those organizations, you have to be the vanguard. You have to be the vanguard for these organizations. You have to be the person to say, not on my watch, because this is not what it was established for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know,
And brothers and sisters who's just joining in on the conversation, we're talking about brotherhood. We're talking about the brokenness in black brotherhood. We're not talking about when it's working and it's fine and stuff like that. We're talking about the experiences. And I want to ask too the group, when have people actually experienced genuine brotherhood in the context of even with a group? And do you believe black men um, uh, uh, because earlier, Ron, this is what I wanted to ask you about when we were talking about Africa. Sometimes I feel like we over romanticize, how we were together. No, there's tribal wars. There's tribal. We've always been having, conflicts, and I think that we have to understand that that's okay. That when I say okay, not to the extent that people are, fighting and killing each other over, the craziness, but to recognize when other people, like we gave the example of on Times Square, of a black person just randomly smacking a white person, how the world would respond to that, as you see. Matter of fact, I just saw this video. I don't know if you guys saw it, where the lady, it's a white woman, she got arrested and somehow she got free. Did you see that? It's recently. Okay, so on YouTube, it's all over the place. She got free, and she took a gun out of the black of the place, and the way they treated her was like they gave her cigarettes, and I was like, wow, if that was a black man, he would have been blown away, like no questions asked. They had all these people come in, the SWAT team, and they trying to talk her down and all that. The way that they handled her because she was a white woman. like I said, she got out of her handcuffs, got a gun, and waved it around and all that other kind of stuff, and she was able to get out of that situation and not be unalived. The reality when we talk about how we connect, and I think because there is a tendency, and a lot of it I think is rooted in self hatred too, in that when we are a part of a group, we prioritize, we put over our blackness, that church, that organization, that entity, as opposed to say, wait a minute, even if a person doesn't belong to my church, a black man, he's a black man. That should be our church. That should be we belong to a fraternity of black men. And if you join an organization, you join a group, that's separate and aside, and that's good. And I like how you said be a vanguard, but to instill in each and every black person that we are connected, and that even if this person has a different kind of thought pattern or process, that is still your brother. But I do think too on a saying, I disagree, but I'm listening, that there are limits. I don't think there should be this blank check forever and ever. I think there are things that black people can do that are extremely harmful to the group.
That's right. Like Umar said, you gotta give him 300 lashes.
I think there's things that that you could that they need to be called, and this other thing, it gets into an issue of accountability, and what does that look like? Because I hear people say that, and it just sounds like a talking point, like, oh, we have to hold these people accountability. How do black men hold other black men accountable when people, that same black man who has denigrated or have done something very negative that's hurtful to the black masses of brotherhood and people, he's exalted, through the machines. What does that accountability look like?
Let's look at New York. Let's look at the history of New York. Let's look at Bumpy Johnson. Okay. Let's look at the people that ran Harlem, New York. Okay. Let's look at Weeksville out of Brooklyn. Okay. Let's look at the history that New York gives out as far as being held accountable as being black men, because we had strong black men, regardless of what they were doing.
But do we have that today, Brother Pete? Do we have that today, Brother Pete?
I can't really say yes, and I can't really say no.
Okay.
Okay, because I can only speak on what I am familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
We could have that. It could be somewhere in Hitsville, Florida. I don't know. Mm-hmm. And are we following the examples that are being given? Like you just said, mm-hmm. How do we hold each other accountable?
Especially in a world where it seems like people who do incredibly horrible things to black people, say horrible things, they not only get it passed, they on platforms, they doing a lot better than the Colored Only Cafe, on the GoPro Radio Network in terms of monetization. It seems like these they're heavily funded, of course, by our enemies, right? Because that's why they get to say and do things and that are detrimental and unedifying, right, for us. But it seems like when we say accountability, it's a soft rag. It plops on the floor. It's like, okay, how do you and I'm talking about in today's age where you see this is. It blew my mind. I was like, wow, did anybody ever hear this guy's lyrics on his song? And he got a street named after him, was a Biggie, and I was in my neighborhood and stuff, and everybody knew about the drugs and all other kind of stuff, but there's a street naming. It's like we're worshiping in the wrong things. And not to say that, like he deserved to die or anything like that. That was terrible what happened to him, it happened to Tupac, all that. But what I'm saying is that on the other hand, there is this adoration, attention, affinity. I mean, to the point where people don't know this. What's this guy? He gave the guy the key to the city, who's in jail now, Sean Puffy Combs. Who, I'm like, do people hear the music that was put out by this label and what they said about women and violence and all of. I mean, to me, and everybody who knows me, I'm not against censorship. I think people should be able to create what they want, but at the same time, we living in a society when we talking about accountability where it seems like the villain is winning or the villain is getting, the
Yeah,
time on it on the whatchamacallit.
but who is the gatekeeper of what's obscene or
It
not
ain't us.
obscene?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. But
That's
it's
what
part of
I'm confused about.
accountability. I think we should.
Who's the
Mhm.
gatekeeper of accountability?
That's what I'm saying. That's my point. So that's why
No,
when
because
people say
I'm confused why
accountability,
I'm
to me
confused.
it falls flat. It's like, what do you mean? Like, what does it look like? What is it?
I
Explain
mean,
to me
when
what accountability look like to you.
when I hear black people being used as being held accountable, who's holding them accountable and accountable to what? Yo,
Yeah, who
Biggie
has the
wrote
authority? Who has
Biggie
the
wrote
authority
songs.
to? Yeah, who has the authority to enforce that accountability?
Yeah, and I think that, and you use Biggie as an example, and I think that Biggie, I'm gonna say this, that Biggie getting a street named after him was more done in rebellious against the mainstream than it was to highlight his negativity.
How so?
Because the idea of it, listen, we would like to say that, when we look at him as an artist, right? I'm not into Biggie, was an artist and whatever he did, whatever. But I think it had an influence on a lot of young black people, a lot of people in general
Mm-hmm.
in that community,
Mm-hmm.
because he doesn't have a street anywhere else. He has a street in his community where he's from, and this is what I mean by the part of making a brother a brother. This was their brother. This was the brother of their community, and they thought that it should be a street named. Let nobody have any qualms with anything being named Charlie, Chris, anything. Nobody got any argument, regardless of what he said, how he operated, whatever. So in the same instance, for blackness, because they got all the other, they got all the other people's street names. The great heroes, they got street names for them. They're not putting those street names not for them, but I think it's a power of the time and place of saying, hey, we're gonna make this street for our brother from our neighborhood, from our community, because he represents us.
Mm. I my argument, with that. I mean, there's so many, rappers that I think, and Chuck D. I mean, some rap that need to have a street naming and to be on a certain level. It seems like I said, the attention, the accolades, that it's the machine that, first of all, I think that made, Biggie and groups like that. I don't want to just, pick him out, but it was just an example because that was a community I came out of. I used to live right on Gates Avenue between Grand and Downing, and I used to literally run into Biggie every now and then. And the point of it is that when you listen to the lyrics and listen to what what they stand for, and then looking at what is going on, I'm like, there's far more rappers that I think, or people who are part of it, who deserve actually a street name and that don't. And so when it comes to accountability and,
I mean,
and things like that, I'm like, what is being really exalted? This idea of you listen to any of his albums, and
we're not talking about. Listen, I
Mhm.
think that he's not getting named on the street because of his lyrics. He's named on the street because he's a person that came from their community who made it. And
Yeah, but
regardless of how
even
he
that
made it,
idea of
regardless of how
even
he made
that
it,
idea of making it, the whole thing is like, once again, do we have our own internal standard? We know how they do things.
again,
They exalt their heroes, but what about our own standards? There's a lot of.
you are
Mhm,
speaking about something
mhm,
that you're saying as an individual, the
mhm.
community. So either you accept what the community wanted, or you say I'm against what the community wanted.
Well, I don't think that's what the community wanted. That's what I'm saying. And I think that what the community ends up wanting is also being manipulated by the fake stream media. I think people see like money and bling bling and rich, and they look at that as status and success and say to themselves that that is successful.
I think that sounds good, but I think that Biggie's rise from who he was to where he was an inspiration for his community.
And I say it shouldn't have
Just
been.
like,
Because I think rising that way is wrong. I think rising that way is
but
terrible.
it was the way. Listen,
Mm-hmm.
listen. I hear what you saying.
Right.
I hear you, and I think that there should be some type of pathway, the correct pathway to rise. But that's not our history. When you check most of our heroes, their pathway to rise was not in some dignified, upstanding way. It was based on what we could do in the society we lived in.
And when it was, when it was in a dignified, upstanding way, it got erased. I mean, look at how black people. If it wasn't for us, look at what we've contributed to society, and we pay attention to that. Right now we talking about Biggie having a street named after him, but what about Donald Trump Plaza? Nobody said a word about Trump Plaza.
That's the point I'm making, Brother Pete. That I don't care who they name the street after. If he black, I'm with it. I'm with it. I don't care who it is.
Ain't said nothing about Trump Plaza. But this is the man that's committing genocide around the world, left and right, on black people.
And there's people who are absolutely protesting Trump Plaza's name. Matter of fact, his name was removed of some places. People are actively, working against that. But my point is though, within the black community, but I'm focused on black people. I'm focused on our community. And why
are we regulating what we do in our communities for our people, naming them and the way we name? Because
we're different. Because we're different.
Because white people are not going to do it.
Yeah, I'm not thinking about white people.
If you believe that white people was an advocate for Biggie Smalls getting a street named after him, you believe white people was an advocate for that?
Absolutely. They were behind it. That was a white engineer. Matter of fact, Biggie Small, Bad Boy Records. That was Clive Davis. All of this stuff is in. Just because they have black face, it doesn't mean it's a black face.
I'm not saying about black
face.
And
I'm saying that Biggie and there's a lot. Do you know there's a lot of people who didn't grow up, let's say, like, unfortunate that we had like mentors and leaders and people to help us, who listened to and was influenced by those records, who heard those kind of things, who brought drugs and their lives were ruined, whose mother's been out in the street. I look at certain things and I can separate the message from the messenger, and I recognize, Biggie's humanity, but him getting a street name, that's definitely something that the machine has allowed, so that we look at these kinds of things through this kind of lens of, look, he got his street name. Look how much. Look, he was successful. I don't measure success by how much money somebody got or how much money they got. I'm saying that. I think he destroyed a lot of lives. And I think that's the mentality. Hold on. What I'm saying. Let me get my point. Let me my point out real quick.
More lives than how white people.
See, we can't compare us. Remember, you're saying they destroy lives. Anybody?
What Biggie Smalls did.
It's like
talking about some people who really doing some shit. Biggie Smalls is a goddamn crumb to the matter of what's real issues who are affecting us as a people.
No, but what I'm saying, we were talking about.
He's not even alive. He's not even alive today.
Okay, but hold on. But we were talking about accountability, right? And how do we hold each other accountable? I don't care about don't bring in Trump and all these other. I'm talking about how
I didn't say anything about Trump.
You did. You brought up Trump. You talk about nobody's getting it. No. Earlier today, we could play back the tape. You were talking about, because I listened to you very closely. You were talking about
this conversation. I said nothing about Trump. In this moment that we just talked, you brought up Trump.
But early. Okay, early. Yeah, I know. I mean, no, we'll listen to the tape, but yeah, and I know, Brother Pete, you brought up Donald Trump too, right? You were talking about it as well. But when I'm saying, You brought up Trump. Okay, fine. But what I'm saying is this, right? Our standards have to be different than everybody else's standards. We can't live in the mindset of measuring success and accolades through the system, the same system of white supremacy that we think in terms of, oh, okay, well, that is
I
once
agree
again,
with you, but I think that
mm-hmm.
I think that Biggie Smalls,
Mm-hmm.
in the representation of what you're saying, the standard of representation sounds European white to me. Because if black people were living in the time, listen, as much as we may hate drugs, as much as we may hate crime, prostitution, those were things that were real and live in our communities. They were real and alive.
Saying it was real alive. I don't know.
They were real and alive in our communities.
Right. Mm-hmm. They were put in our community. They put
we
drugs
get
in our
down to
community.
the
They put
nitty-gritty
drugs
of
and
saying,
guns in our
oh,
community.
the black people, the black drug dealers, oh, the black gangbangers, oh, they did this and did that. And you ultimately at that point negate how they got drugs, how they got guns, how all these things happen in the community. And I think that Lydia said it earlier, it's about the social economics that is placed on us as a people that put us in those kind of situations.
Wait a minute, Ron. I think they're gonna be kicking my door in. What did you just? Can you repeat what you said, Tyler?
You say what I said or Ron said? What I'm saying is that
without taking 2 hours.
Oh, thank you. What I'm saying, and I'll be as concise as possible, that we have to have different standards than anybody else because we're a unique group and we've gone through a unique challenge in this particular part of the hemisphere, and that if we continue to look at the other standards that other people may have, we're going to be aping and mimicking some of the same psychosis that this other group have. I think we should be different in the way that we don't. It's not appropriate to sell drugs. It's not appropriate to demean and degrade. It's not appropriate to celebrate the murder of these people. And if other people outside of our group give them the platform and exalt them, we need to recognize that is what happened. That is not really from us and who we are. Period. Point blank.
All I would say is that I would suggest listening to Biggie Smalls albums, because I think they were more about party and reflection of the life that he lived at his time. Very different from the present music we have today.
What now? So, what was you going to say, Brother Pete?
I was getting ready to question what you had said, because you're attacking Biggie Smalls, and you're saying that it's the drug situation, the guns and the drugs, okay? But when you're attacking Biggie about that, I can't remember him having a poppy field. I can't remember him having a gun factory. I can't remember him having a cocaine field on his rooftop. You know what I'm saying? So when you talk about drugs and guns getting into our community, now you're talking another step, okay? Because when somebody brings up the drugs and guns getting in our community, we skate around we bullshit. We skate around the real deal. But the real deal is the real deal is I can only think of one person that can bring drugs, guns by the trunkloads into our community without getting robbed, without getting fucked up, without getting killed, okay? And walk out with a pocket full of goddamn money and nobody knows shit. It's only one motherfucker that I can think of that can do that, and that's the
White
fucking
folks.
police. So when the fuck are we gonna deal with that shit and stop accusing each other of shit? The biggest drug dealer that ever hit this motherfucking country was the president of the United States.
Right.
His name was fucking Ronald Reagan. Okay.
Right on.
So what the fuck is we doing talking about? We downing each other. That's the shit that I'm talking about. Stand in the middle of motherfucking. You want to see white? Ooh. We need to stop this bullshit. I'm gonna say it again. We need an agenda. We need a code of conduct, and we need a constitution. Fuck all the dumb shit that
Yeah,
we
but you
talk.
talk about a code of conduct, and according to what you're talking about, your code of conduct it is fine. You act like two things can't be true at the same time. That yes, absolutely, drugs have been brought into our community, but we don't have to sell them to each other. And the person who sells it to each other, we need to call out that behavior and not condone it. We have to say that yeah, we're fighting fronts. We're fighting this battle on many fronts, and that of course it coming into our community just because we don't make the drugs and we don't and the
Fight the
drugs are
battle
brought
on
in the
one.
community, that we don't have to sell them, that we don't have to kill. Just as somebody bring guns in your community, you don't have
Fight
to
the
shoot your
battle on
brother.
one.
So what I'm saying.
Fight.
So what I'm saying is two things are absolutely true. I agree with you. Drugs were brought into the community. I absolutely agree with that. I have no argument there. I wouldn't argue against that. I agree with that 100%. All these things are brought in the community, but when they're brought in the community, right? You don't have to take them. You don't have to take those guns and then shoot each other. When they're brought in the community, you don't have to sell the drugs. There's a lot of brothers who don't sell drugs. Who, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of brothers out there who don't take guns and shoot each other, right? So what I'm saying is that we know what the behaviors are, and that's one thing that we should have every right and authority, and this is we're going to talk about accountability, to call that out. So I'm not this is not a personal attack on it, but I'm talking about his cooperation with the system in which that he was given the platform over at Arista via a Bad Boy Entertainment Records to say what he said on those records, right? And encouraged to say what he was saying on those records. And it's important. Hold on. And it's important that we point those things out so that we have a better critique in terms of how do we move forward. We have to understand that we can no longer just scapegoat that. Yeah, they brought the drugs in the community. They did this, that, and the other, but we don't have to sell it. We don't have to be oppressors or acting. That's like me saying, well, yeah, we should not. Let's not talk about the house Negro. Let's not talk about the house. Let's just talk about slavery. No, we got to talk about slavery and those house Negroes and the people who condone the behavior or support the same system that's oppressing all of us.
So, Talon, would you say that people who sold drugs, who did what they needed to do to survive, the surviving class of people, are house Negroes?
People who sell drugs are horrible. Period. I don't condone that, no way, shape, or form. People who sell drugs to other people that they know that people get addicted. You know how many mothers, how many brothers, how many people are incarcerated because of drugs? Alcohol. Even alcohol is legal, right? Alcohol is legal. Alcohol is legal. People who sell that kind of stuff to our community, understanding alcoholism in our community and what it does. Hold on, what it does to families, right? And what it has done to families and ruined people's lives. I don't care if it's legal. It's not a good thing. It's a thing that we should all condone.
I hear you. So there's accountability. There's accountability that needs to be made for people who sell these items, but no accountability for the people who partake.
See now, you know that's a straw. I didn't say no accountability. They all should be held accountable. People who no, it's not to figure out because I just said earlier that people who bring the drugs in the community. Go ahead.
Give me a minute, Ron. Give me a minute, okay? Because you're missing the message, okay? So let me give it to you another way. You got a house with 6 children in your house. There's a gun in your house. One of the children are playing with the gun. Could they play with it if the gun wasn't there?
You said would they play with it if the gun wasn't there?
Yep.
That's a non sequitur. Of course, if a gun is there, somebody should be responsible. It should be put away. It should be locked away.
That's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you, can they?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It?
But that's what I'm saying. The argument in itself is flawed. They said, no, should they be playing with the gun? It's
either yes or no answer. There's no explanation needed.
Yeah, okay? but you're setting up the framework. No kid should be playing with a gun.
I'm asking you a question. Mm-hmm. Can the gun be used if the gun was not there?
No, if the gun was not there, it couldn't have been used.
Then that's the argument that we're raising. If the drugs were not in the neighborhood, the drugs could not be used. Period. They couldn't be sold, or they could not be. Wait a minute, let me finish saying what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. We heard you out. Okay. But you cannot use the drugs. You cannot sell the drugs if they're not in the community. Well, don't go after Biggie Go after who's bringing that shit in there for Biggie to do what he's doing.
First of all, I'm
Okay?
not going after Biggie. Biggie's gone, right? And you live by the sword, whatever, right? He's not even here. But I'm talking about this idea. I'm not talking about the micro. I'm talking about the macro. The macro is this, and it's simple: that the code of conduct, and you're talking about a code of conduct, is so. I'm asking you, as part of the code of conduct, is it acceptable under your code of conduct for me to sell drugs to my brothers and sisters?
No.
Okay.
No.
Is it okay for us to? Is it okay for us to shoot each other? Yes or no? Answer the question. Is it okay if there's guns in the community for me to take those guns and shoot my brothers?
No, because you're trying to play game. You're trying to play.
No, I'm not. You're the one playing games talking about if a gun is in the house, how it's being used. That was a ridiculous question.
Y'all need to understand something, that Bro Pete is coming from a slave mentality. If he doesn't have access to it, means it can't be used. And it should be the opposite. No matter, white people and their kids have guns, they don't play with them.
Yeah, they go to schools and shoot up the school. That's right. They don't play with them. They go and kill people intentionally.
I knew you was gonna come in on that.
No, because don't you ever come on here with your Uncle Tom behaviors saying that somebody got a slave mentality. Slave mentality is the
just because something is laying there in front of you doesn't mean you have to pick it up and use it, or if it's drugs, you have to pick it up and take it or sell it.
Can you use that same factor to your white people that you support? Don't bring it about here. Bring it to your white people. We don't want to hear from you.
That's interesting. I actually agree with Sonny on that one. I think just because something is in your neighborhood or something you do, you don't use it. It was this thing of, in terms of code of conduct, and this is what I would tell black people. Drugs are bad. Alcohol is bad. I don't care if it's legal. It's bad. Weed is legal. It's not good. Try to keep. We should all be and move to being clear-eyed and sober, and so we should be supporting that energy to be as clear-eyed as possible and sober, and to be strong, focused men. We should. If somebody has a gun, it doesn't mean that we use it and we turn it on each other. Because there's drugs in the community, we shouldn't use them or sell them. Can you imagine? Can you imagine a world where people say that this is fine or this is acceptable? This is not acceptable. If you had a code of conduct that said, yeah, a certain amount of drugs is acceptable, I can't get with that program. I wouldn't get with that program. Or a certain amount of this or that. No, I think we should go, and because of our unique history in this country, on the other way, use our own standards and practices in terms of how do we, support and uplift our people in our community. There's this clear behavior that's just destructive and not good. And when we see people who talk about this in music, I'm not even saying name because I don't want to focus on a person who's not even here, even to defend himself. People who are clearly exalted, like we hear in a lot of music today and a lot of hip hop music today, that people are being exalted for demeaning women, degrading other black, celebrating the murder of other black men, and they're getting awards and walking on award shows and thanking God at the same time. This is the kind of sickness, the mental illness that we have in our community that I think that we need to talk about and challenge when we talk about brotherhood. We can't have brotherhood if we're selling drugs to each other. We can't have brotherhood if we're shooting each other and making that acceptable.
And Bro Pete, you are always the one talking about, well, let's hold back on our labor. Let's not go to work. Let's shut them down by not going to work. Don't pick up the gun. Don't take the drugs. Don't sell the drugs. Don't get on the stage half naked to promote sexuality. Yeah, you don't like it when you get backed up in a corner from your own rhetoric.
Backed up in what corner? From what rhetoric?
Bro, son, you have no credibility.
You the one that's always
you have no credibility. You have no credibility, brother. Sonny has zero credibility to say anything.
Sonny's always on the one.
You have no credibility, brother.
He's the one on here always talking about.
Don't say nothing about black people when you follow a demagogue who wants to destroy black people.
So you say.
No, for yourself say.
I see black people destroying themselves. First of all, they got the religion that they believe into. They believe in a white man is their God. All right?
Black people destroying themselves no more than the white master that you have.
I don't have a master. I am the master. I don't have a master.
Who are the master?
I am the master.
The master of what?
The master of myself.
That's your problem, brother. You have.
It's not a problem. Believe me, it is not a problem.
You have a white man.
You have that fraternity love where everybody is loving each other and only protecting their fraternity brothers, but not the people. I'm not a brother just like you.
All right, hold on. We got a hand up. Deshaun would like to speak. Go ahead, Deshaun.
Hotep Black Power.
Hotep, good to see you, brother.
Black Power, Deshaun.
Please pardon my tardiness. I just wanted to say, just to be a middle ground, Brother Tylon, this is the reason why I love Color Only Cafe. Discussions like this, dear brother. And we have to have, listen, both sides are saying something that is valid. We have to have this conversation. But I'm going to warn us, okay? I'm going to warn us. Something that a friend of GoPro Radio, Cleo Monago, always mentions is that whenever we discuss Black dysfunction, we always have to contextualize and remember that trauma trance. However, however, at a certain point, we're going to have to wake up from the trauma trance. But oftentimes, whenever we are discussing Black dysfunction, it's like when a woman is sexually assaulted, most of the time she's blamed for her own sexual assault. And Black people are the only ones who are blamed for our own oppression. Okay, you understand where I'm coming from? So anything bad that happens to us, it is always pre-justified. Well, Black people sold each other into slavery. Black people kill each other. Most Black children are born out of wedlock. So we have to be very careful that we don't blame us for our own oppression. Definitely, hold on now. We have to examine it, contextualize. For every illness, for every dysfunction, there's always a root cause. And we cannot excuse or dismiss white supremacy. Whenever people say, well, Black people always blaming the white man, I disagree with that. We love the white man too much to blame him. It's something that I heard Michael Everett Dyson say, if there's anyone who loves white folks, it's Negroes. So you don't have to worry about us blaming the white man. We spend most of our time blaming ourselves. But I'm going to say both what Tylen said, two things can be true. Both sides are saying the truth. So I'm going to end by saying that we have to contextualize, but at the same time, remember, several of our giants provided a blueprint. Booker T. Washington, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, they provided a blueprint, and they jumped on white supremacy, specifically Garvey and Elijah Muhammad. They jumped on the white man all day, but guess what? Eventually, it came down to self-responsibility. Okay, fine. We know that the white man is the devil. We know that he's the oppressor. Okay, now let's go open up a bank. Let's go buy farmland. So after we have this discussion, okay,
or donate to the GoPro Radio Network.
That's right. That's why I put out a call yesterday.
I saw that, brother. I saw that, and I appreciate that.
So, like I said, fine. After we have these discussions, something Umar Johnson always says, he speaks about, and I don't like using this term, but Umar says that within these conscious circles, it's nothing but intellectual masturbation. Okay, so fine. We've identified the root cause of the problem. What is the next step? That's all I have to say for now.
Very good. I love it. And that's what we're talking about right now, about Black Brotherhood in today's conversation. This has been the Colored Only Cafe, and I know we're about to wind down, and I want to thank everybody for their insights and perspectives, and I understand that we're not a monolith, that we have different ideas, and I think all the ideas that we have, I think, has value, and I think it's about looking at where the value comes from. And I will always, like I said, recognize and look at a lot of our behaviors and understand where they come from. And I know that it's a struggle, and I know that we have to survive. But I don't want us to feel like, and this is very important, that as Black men that we're alone, right? That we're together. That we're going to have way more cooperation than competing. And I know that's the nature. That's it. That some things are just human nature as well. Our nature to be competitive and sports and that whole kind of thing. But at the same time, looking at our unique place in this world and in history, and like what Deshaun said, in terms of context is everything. We can hold the system, and that's what this whole show is about, the holding the system accountable. At the same time, recognize that, you know what, we're individuals, and that I would hope that as individuals we make better choices, and we support people in making better and better choices, because the world is really looking to us, and they're looking for us. And I keep telling them we are incredibly great. That's why the focus and an attention is designed so heavily, and to keep us distracted and to keep us dysfunctional, right? Because once it's clear, and we begin to really educate ourselves. Ron said something very, very important about, the knowledge and knowing who you are. You're going to behave differently. You're not going to. One of the reasons why I have a certain position in this stance is because I have knowledge itself, and I understand how powerful and how great we are, and that's why I won't do certain things, and there's certain lines I will not cross. So and hearing this, I hope you guys were able to glean some information. You were able to connect with some of the things that were said, and it resonates with you, even if it doesn't resonate now, right? Maybe down the road, maybe in the rebroadcast or in the archives of this show, something will reach someone. We say something, each one teach one. I say each one we have to teach 10.